Thank you for coming on to the show, Gene. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on here.
All
I'm
right,
always
how's it going?
excited when you have time to be here. How have you been?
Um, love being here. Glad to be back. I've been doing great. We've been doing shows since the last time I saw you. I'm trying to do one a month. Been working hard on the new book and other projects, and just trying to get pages done so that I can start actually promoting the new stuff. And that's what I'm here to do.
Nice. So, with the shows a month, are you trying to stay like in North Carolina? Are you branching out throughout the East Coast?
We do both. We do shows here. I do Virginia, South Carolina, some Georgia. We've gotten up to Awesome Con in DC, and trying to expand beyond that. We did Baltimore this past year, so that was a lot of fun. So we're trying to stretch it out a little bit, but still stay local.
Okay. How did you enjoy it? Was this your first time at Baltimore? No, right?
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's one of the biggest shows I've done. I thought it was, about comparable, a little bit bigger than Heroes, but it was. I mean, it was a lot going on, definitely, and
Yeah.
and met a lot of people that I see other places, which is crazy.
Yeah. Um, I've only done Baltimore once, and it's a wild experience because, like you said, it's like you get to actually meet the people that you've only ever seen virtually, type
Man,
of thing.
you're
So,
right. Yep.
yeah. How was Heroes this year? I unfortunately missed Heroes, which is like one of my biggest heartbreaks this year. I wasn't able to get to Heroes. So, how
But
was it?
yeah, it was fun as usual. I'll be back. I love going there, and because it's just all comics, and that's one of the things I love about Heroes is that like everybody does comics. Like even if they're just doing a comic strip in the paper, it's all forms of comics, indies. You got people from the big two and all Image and all of that. So it's just a lot of people that you want to see. I met some artists that I've been trying to meet forever, and so. Heroes is always fun.
Yeah, Heroes is my favorite. Don't tell anybody else. But I have a soft spot for Heroes because
Mhm.
they were the first ones that gave me my press pass. Very
Okay,
first
okay,
one
I got
out the gate. So I was like, oh, they believed in me. So
you.
I've rocked with them forever. So I'm glad that it was a great year again this year. So,
Yeah,
what kind of is coming up for you? September.
September we're doing Incredible Con in Charleston, South Carolina. So
Ooh.
that'll be the one. And then I've got a comic book shop lined up in Greenville, North Carolina. Nostalgia Newsstand. I'll be there. At the end of the month. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's awesome. Well,
Yep.
I'm guessing you're gonna be doing book signings.
Yes, yes. I'll be there with my books and comics and prints, and we'll rock it out.
Oh, that sounds fun. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get the date and see if I'm able to get down there and just support and stuff. That sounds like a lot of fun. Is this your first time doing a book signing at a comic?
No, we've done a couple, but
Okay.
I don't do them a whole lot, but I want to start kind of hitting those pretty regularly.
Yeah, and I saw that you did the library again too. Is that going to be something that's regular, the library book
I,
signing?
I hope so. I got invited to the North Carolina Library Conference last year, and we're doing that again this year. And so I'll be doing that in October. Um, very just a great group of people that put that together. Mr. Jeremy Radford, just giving him a shout out. He's very instrumental in making it happen, and I had a great time. Everybody was good to us, and got a lot of great feedback from the people that were there. A lot of librarians, a lot of teachers that were there buying books, and so it's a great environment.
Yeah, because you're one of the firm believers, as a lot of us are, that comic books is a great gateway to reading and enjoying reading.
Yes,
So
yeah, comics and graphic novels got me to where I am, so I believe in it.
yeah, and you're a teacher, so and you also
Yes,
incorporate that into some of your lesson plans as well, and you
yeah,
have certain obviously age appropriate comics
yeah,
available for your
yeah.
students. How are they loving the success of your comic?
I think one of the biggest things in the classroom is not necessarily saying, here, read my book. It's the fact that they can look through it and say, here's somebody that actually did it. And it's a lot of questions about process. How did you do this? How did you do that? How did you get your book printed? Because a lot of high school students, they don't say anything to anybody else, but you got a lot of artists in your room. You have a lot of writers in your room. And when they see that their teacher has done it, then they become interested in how it happened. And then you get to give them a lot of notes and process. And I have got a couple students that always show me their writing and always show me what they're drawing. And so that part of it is very fun. And it's fulfilling to be able to do that with kids.
It's always good to have that inspiration of, well, if they did it, like I could kind of do that.
Right.
And I know that from knowing you for so many years, I know that's one of the biggest things that you do implement to the young folks is, hey, I did it. Like, I'm my own superhero. You can be your own
Right.
superhero as well.
Right.
And that's one of the things I've admired about you is the nurturing of that within the youth. Did you have someone like that? Can we shout? Did you have someone that was like?
So many people. Mr. Kurt Garrett, he was one of the first artists that let me come by his studio and really see what he did and allow me to see his process and just sit down there with him and kind of work with him and he'd look at my stuff and I'd be able to see how he was doing it. He was a whole lot better artist than I was, and just being able to see someone else doing it and that looked like me and really understood me as an artist. Sometimes as an artist and as a writer, as a creative, sometimes you're not around people who do what you do and they don't understand what you do, and they don't understand how your mind works. But being able to meet someone who does is very important and very inspiring, and it keeps you going because it's possible.
Yeah, that's definitely a true statement, especially
and you're not crazy. So
that's the most important part. And
Right.
you're not crazy because you're not alone. Sometimes it can be like, oh my gosh, like, am I the only one doing this? And then when you see somebody else, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And you're right, I'm not crazy.
Like, am I weird? Do I have a problem? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
No, I completely get that. You are very consistent with putting out your content, even if it's just a snippet of what you're doing. How do you schedule yourself? Because you have you are a teacher, you have your classes, you have your curriculums that you need and want to teach, but you also a creative. You're also, have your own personal life.
Right.
How do you balance all of that out within, and then still have time to like at least post a snippet of what you're doing?
Okay. A few things. First and foremost, my wife gives me time to get stuff done, and so like that's like the biggest thing, because if you don't have the support to understand that you need to go away for an hour or so and get something completed, it's going to be very hard. And so that's number one. She gives me that space. We have an understanding that I'm gonna get that hour and a half. I'm gonna get those 2 hours in and get something done. Number two, beyond that, when I first started doing the Sunstrom's novel, the original piece that I put out, I realized I needed to get 2 or 3 pages written a day. That was my goal. And sometimes I got 1 page, sometimes it was 5 pages. But there was a consistency that I built way back then of how much material I wanted to get done a day. And not that you're going to use it all, because you're going to cut and you're going to edit and all of that, but you need to get something in the can, I call it, and that way you can work with it later on. And when I started doing the comics, I just kind of brought that same mentality to it. So I just try to either work on pencils, inks, or colors a day. And once I get all that done, right now I'm working hard on trying to letter a few pages a day. But I just brought that consistency from writing a novel to the comics and try to do the same thing.
Yeah, because that's definitely one thing that I can guarantee is when I open up Facebook, I can guarantee that I'm going to see a post of yours, a picture of yours, or a video, something. And I've always admired that, because it was like, wow, like here he has, you have your full time, you have your personal life, you have this project that you're passionate about, and it shows within your writing and your art skills, and you still have time to like keep people up to date, keep people, wanting more. Cause
Yeah.
for the longest, I was like, when are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I've always admired that work ethic within yourself. Is it just the fact of the matter that you're pretty much, well, not pretty much, you are doing all of this basically on your own because you're the writer, the artist.
Yeah. That's part of it. I just felt like when you're working on something, there's that moment you're at the beginning and you're really excited about the project. And there's a moment at the end where you're excited because you're almost done. But when you're in the middle, it's the wilderness. And it's like you can sit down and quit at any time, because you can't see the beginning and you can't see the end anymore. And so my social media posts a lot of times is for my own inspiration. It keeps me going because I can see what I've done. And even if it's just I penciled this character, or I did this sketch, or I put this character's bio on my Substack today, that keeps me going because it's a small accomplishment, but it's an accomplishment, and that fuels me to keep going. And by the time I know it, I'm closer to the end than I was. And so
I like that. I wrote it down. The middle is the wilderness. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it is pretty much where people do tend to give up. It's like after they start, they have that adrenaline rush, the dopamine of like, oh my God, this project is starting. Then once you get to the middle and you don't see that ends, or things aren't necessarily working the way you envision them to work, people do tend to quit there. I do like that. The middle is the wilderness.
That's when the voices get loud, and you gotta make them be quiet somehow. And that's just the way I do it.
Yeah, you got to push through because nobody else is going to see the dream but you. So,
right.
And yeah, even the fuel of posting like the character bios, I thought that was genius. I was like, oh my God, that's like really cool because it gets people curious and wanting to know more about the characters, which are well developed. And like one of my, I know I've asked you before, but you do have like character sheets for all of your characters, correct?
Yes. And if I don't, they're on the way.
Okay.
I've got a Google Doc I'm working from right now with everybody on there, and it's a pretty big sheet, and I'm getting them all done little by little, and it gives me content for my newsletter, but also it'll be a project down the line. So
yeah, I can imagine the Google Doc is like pretty big because you have an extensive amount of characters. I have all of the main characters bookmarks. I have their cards with their info and stuff like that. So I can only imagine. And plus you have to kind of keep track of like their quirks and personalities and things of that nature, so that way you don't, because readers are gonna call you out like, wait a second, that's not.
She wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
So you gotta keep it all straight. This is so for those that don't know, a quick little snippet of your story, because if you don't know, you can go to previous interviews and stuff like that. But a quick little snippet about what the whole world of the Sunstorms are.
Okay. The Sunstorms is about a family of superheroes. They end up losing mom and dad in battle. Their oldest son, Sam, comes home, gets his siblings together. They form a team with the idea of taking over for mom and dad. And then they realize they've inherited all their parents' enemies because the people who took out mom and dad actually come for them. And so in the process, they become a new team of superheroes that take on the legacy of their parents, but also they get involved in this cosmic conspiracy and some secret science fiction goings on with the villains. The comic book series is the ongoing adventures of the Sunstorms research and exploration team. And so we have the first issue where they're setting up a science and math school, and disaster comes to the school. And the second issue where the villains, the headhunters, try to resurrect Isaiah Stone, who is the man who killed the parents. The third issue is where we are now, and I think that's what I'm here to talk about.
Yes, yeah. So there is a novel and there are comics.
Yes.
So people are aware. There's well, they're together but separate.
Right.
So, so just so everybody knows, that there is a novel, and then there are the comics.
Right.
And then the comics kind of tie into a little bit through the novel, correct?
Right. They're the spinoff. The
Yeah.
novel is a one and done story, but the comics are the continuing adventures after the novel.
Yes, and like you said, book 3, the Kickstarter launched. So tell us, there's been some, like you said, going ons.
Yeah. Okay. Um,
We're trying to get it all together now because people have been gone missing. Woo, it's crazy.
okay. All right. The Sunstroms number 3. You're introduced to a team called the Protectorate. The Sunstroms are like my science exploration heroes. The Protectorate are the godlike mythic heroes in the flying city above the clouds type of thing. And a bunch of them have gone missing, and they've been brainwashed, and they're coming back to Earth to destroy us. And the Sunstroms are sent to this place called the Unsound Dimension to find these heroes and actually free them from this brainwashing. And they're the only ones who can do it for reasons that are explained in the comic. I don't want to give it all away. But that's what issue 3 is about, is Sam taking his team off Earth into this dimension to save these other heroes.
So when it comes to like finding these stories, is there like an inspiration, or you already had these stories and you're just like finally being able to put them out there?
A lot of it is stories that I've already had. We talked before, and I've got notebooks and notebooks full of stuff. I've been doing a lot of this writing since college, and when I was working retail, I'd be sitting behind the counter when there was nobody in there, just scribbling and scribbling and scribbling.
Mhm.
And so I've been doing this for years. Some of it's new, such as the Sunstroms was a new group that I introduced into this world because I needed a way to introduce the reader to it. And because these characters were explorers, they get to explore everything and introduce it to you, the reader. And so the Protectorate and these Last Age characters, you'll get them introduced to you through the Sunstroms in this book.
Okay. So with this third book launching, what are the rewards looking like? Can we
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's launched, so yeah, we can
Okay.
talk a little bit about the rewards as well.
I've got a new wave of trading cards coming. I've got cups, I've got t-shirts, I've got prints. You'll be able to get books that maybe you haven't gotten before, from the novel to source book issue 1 and 2 if you haven't gotten those. And we've got some music coming.
What?
Yeah, that's going to be something different. I'm putting some music on the thumb drive. There's a new character that's going to be introduced in the Sunstroms number 3 named Princess Mirage. She is a supervillain themed pop star in that world. And she gets her own short story in the book, and she's getting ready to go on tour with this controversial album. And you get to see in the book where she's given a thumb drive with her beats on it for the new album. And I'm giving you the beats.
Wow, that's awesome. Is this now that you're dabbling into the music world, are you producing these music, or did you outsource?
No, I'm not. But my brother, Stuart Willoughby, he does music, and he's got a studio. He's been working for years, and I've worked with him for years, and he does amazing work. And we got together, and he's putting together the instrumentals for Princess Mirage's album.
Awesome. Okay. That sounds exciting. That sounds actually like really, really fun. I'm excited that there's gonna be a t-shirt, because I don't know if you remember that I told you that Zach and I, we switch off who gets the shirt.
Yeah.
It's my turn to get the shirt.
So what I'm doing is a Princess Mirage World Tour pack for the Kickstarter. You'll be able to get the thumb drive. You'll be able to get her World Tour poster.
Oh, wow.
And so that'll be something exclusive for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because when we do Kickstarters, especially, well, it's mostly just yours and Matt Jones.
Uh-huh.
You guys do t-shirts a lot. So we always alternate who gets the t-shirt, and it's my turn to get the Sunstrom's t-shirt. So I'm like, yes, t-shirt's my turn. It's hilarious around here. Like, that's how we compromise with these things. So what made you decide to actually add like the music component to all of it with the character Princess Mirage?
That's a character I've had in my back pocket for a long time, and Torrance Sunstrom he's kind of the hothead, and he's the most social out of the group as far as wanting to be in the limelight and just soaking up everything that being a superhero brings to you. He kind of gets into all of it, and so I felt like if anybody was going to be dating her, it would be him.
Okay.
And so that's going to cause some issues going forward in further issues, because he's a superhero and he's dating this young lady who is actually pretty much promoting being a supervillain, which is not what you would think a superhero would do. So that's going to cause some issues, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh my gosh. So how do your inner circle feel about like that little bit of or do they know? Actually, yeah. Do you give them like insider knowledge, or your very limited inner circle? Like, do they know the storylines before it happens?
They know as it goes. I'll get questions, and then about who's this, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it that way.
Oh, how do they feel about it? Are they like, no, don't do this, or are they like, yes, let's create chaos?
I think everybody's just kind of like, just let Gene do what he does.
They trust you enough.
Yeah.
We all know that you know what you're doing, but I didn't know how much of it. So. No, you definitely like. So I'm a fan. I was one of the few people that bothered you a lot talking about when's the second one coming, and then the second one came,
and I appreciate that. Yep.
Okay, because I always felt like, man, he's probably gonna block me one day. Like, stop asking me these questions. But I've done better from the second to this one. I'm like, I'm just gonna let him cook, let him, like the young kids say.
You have become so patient. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because I was like, from the first one to the second, I bothered a lot. Well, at least I feel like I bothered a lot. I was like, when is it happening? Every time he posted something, I'm like, okay, this is great, but when am I going to get it? And then I got it, and I was like, oh, I see now. So now I'm just like patient, because I'm like, oh, okay, he actually like puts time, effort. Well, I mean, like I knew that already, but I'm impatient. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now that I've seen the result of what that, the time that you take to it, and you don't rush anything, you make sure everything is, cross your T's, dot your I's type of thing. I'm like, okay, I can wait for the third one. Like, I'm just gonna let him do his thing. I see like I said, I can guarantee when I open up Facebook, I can see a notification. As long as I see that, and I'm like, okay, he's working on it.
It's happening. It's happening.
As long as I see that you're working on it, I can wait my time and let you do your thing and entertain me, because that's pretty much at the end of it. Like when I hold it, I know I'm going to be entertained, and I'm going to be fascinated by a lot of it. So with them being science bound, the science and research team, are you big into science? I can't remember.
I am on a theoretical level. I just like to read, just some of the craziest things, just articles about some of the theoretical science that's out there. For example, there was a study done about how your actual voice will change the shape of molecules in water, and it was borderline being proved in that article. Just things like that just help me stay on the science fiction aspect of it.
Nice. Have you ever attempted to incorporate any of that into your writing?
Oh yeah, that particular one is in something that I'm doing right now. So
nice. Okay, I can't wait to see that, because I've always said that the pitch of a person's tone determines whether or not you can actually like pay attention to them.
Yeah.
That's one of my, like, I'm not a scientist, I'm not that smart, but I believe a person's pitch determines how much attention you pay to them,
Wow.
aside from having things like ADD and ADHD,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's what I think. The third issue is the Kickstarter has launched. How many days are you doing Kickstarter for?
It will end on September 13th. So we got 2 weeks. We're raising $1,000. Everything is going to go to just getting that original print run done, which is what I always do. Just want to get my print run set so that I'll have books when I go to conventions and things like that, and comic book shops.
Okay. Will you have any of them in the comic book shops themselves, or are you just bringing them when you do the signings?
I'm bringing them when I'm doing the signing, but beyond that, we'll see.
Okay. Do you have any guests doing covers this time around?
No, I've done 3 covers myself. I did the Janisha versus Everyone cover that I led with on Friday. And then I have a cover featuring the villain of the story, and I have another one that I'm just calling Exploration. It's the team just being thrust out into space. And so I'll be showing those on social media shortly.
Okay. And with all the success that you've had, have you ever thought about doing the Funko Pops or maybe 3D printing action figures?
Absolutely. Funko Pops will be happening. I couldn't get them done for this one. So I'm going to try my best to get them done for issue 4. But that is one that I definitely want to get a Sam Sunstrom Funko Pop done and a Janisha. I want to get those 2 done first, and then we'll see beyond that. I would love to have a Sunstrom's actual action figure, because action figures have been my thing since a small kid. And so I'm just now getting back into it. But I bothered my parents about action figures for many years.
Well, as you can see, you're
right.
I'm in good company, because you already know that's my whole that's my second love, video games and then action figures. So yeah,
that's quite the shelf back there.
It is. There's like a whole it's a mess. But I was just wondering, because I think that would be like really dope to have like the main characters, the brothers and the sisters, as action figures. I feel like G.I. Joe-ish is how I see them, kind of a thing. So
yeah, it's funny you mentioned G.I. Joe, because when I say I bothered my parents about action figures, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like I would love to see that. And then I know some people tend to do the pop figures. I didn't know how easy that was, or how accessible it was for creators. Not a lot of them have done it, but I have seen it. So I wondered if you had ever thought about going that route.
I've contacted a few people about it, and it was just a time constraint on that, and just getting the book out. And so it'll work better for the next one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So with book 3, we've got all this action happening as well. Tell us a little bit about, is there going to be like is it more action heavy or more story heavy, or have you kept it kind of the same, of an equal balance of story and action?
This one it's action heavy, but there's a quiet moment at the beginning and a quiet moment at the end of it. It actually will be continued in issue 4. The main story. I intended it to be one and done, but because of what you're saying, as far as the story elements, I wanted some things to breathe a little bit, and I wanted a couple of scenes to be able to be fully fleshed out. And so I actually had it to be continued in issue 4. And I found a good cliffhanger moment as well, and so I'll make you mad on that one.
I was going to say no, not the clip. So I guess I was patient from 2 to 3. Now I'm not going to be patient from 3 to 4. I'm like, hey, can I get issue 4? Can I get it? Great.
Good news is a lot of issue 4 is done already, and so it'll get done a little faster than this last one.
Okay, because you have a certain page limit that you kind of want to stick to when it comes to these books, you don't want to make them too big, correct? Am I
Right.
correct in saying?
I try to do about 40 pages, because I don't want them to be huge, but I want to be able to give you a nice little chunk of story when you do get it. So
When did you realize that you were gonna have to do a continuation? Was it like once it was done or halfway through?
no, it was. I was turning the corner and getting ready to do like the last couple of scenes, and there was a part in there where I was gonna have to rush through it in one page, and I needed that to really be a few more pages than that. And I said, well, let's just do it this way.
Okay.
So I didn't want to just gloss over that part because it's super important. So
Okay. Do we get more backstories on any of the characters in issue 3?
yes. I'm gearing up for Sam to have a moment in issue 4, and so you'll start to see some of that.
Okay, perfect. I know, because I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
I also want to know things. So I like how you answer that.
Can't give it all to you. Can't give it all.
And I understand that, and I respect that, and I get it. But at least give me something, which you did. So I'm grateful. I'm okay with that answer. I'm good as long as like I know just a little bit. And like, look, I'm always looking forward to it. So, what artwork have you been working on? I know you've done things like Black Panther and Storm and things like that. Are you working on any other characters that are not your own?
I want to get a few more Transformers done. Those have been popular at my shows. I want to do a few more Turtles. I've only gotten one done so far, but people keep asking me to do the rest of them, and so I think I've been all over the place with my character prints. I started doing I did a Megatron and Starscream, and then I was like, I'm gonna do a few more of these, and then just my mind just keeps taking me other places, and so I never get a set done, but I'm gonna sit down one day and just and get some of these sets completed, and so people can have them.
So do you have like that super overload creative mind where you think of one thing and then something else comes in and you're halfway through and then the third thing comes in and stuff, and then it just next thing you know you have this laundry list of things you want to create?
Yeah, I can't stand it, and that's where the Google Docs come from, because when I look at them, they like it's just the most chaotic pieces of paper you've ever seen in your life. Just things that I want to do, and you can never start at the beginning and just work through it piece by piece. It's crazy, but I'll get those done. I'm going to do a Soundwave, and then that'll be the end of the Decepticons, and then I'll do a few Autobots.
Okay. Are you gonna stick to you're sticking more like 80s theme kind of
Yeah,
animation?
I do an 80s theme, but then I add some elements that are just mine.
Okay.
I did something on Megatron where I kind of showed some of the circuitry in his neck, some of the pieces that go up under the armor, and so I keep those types of things that are just mine, just to make it my own.
Yeah, to add your flair, because you have a unique, for those that haven't seen, you have such a unique and distinctive art style. So it's definitely something. That's why, that's why I have the Storm and Black Panther print that you had done, just because I'm a huge Storm fan, and I've never seen her done that way. And your art style is definitely like, if somebody sees it, they're like, oh yeah, that's Gene's right there. Like it's not, and that to me has always been pretty cool, and it's not to diss anybody else, because I can't draw for worth a lick. But sometimes people go into the art style and it kind of emulates somebody else's art style, but yours doesn't do that at all. So I was wondering if you were going to do any characters that weren't yours in your own art style. So it's pretty cool that you're doing that kind of flair to it. You're taking characters that we've all known and loved and grown up with and just adding your own little twist to it. How much of that was it like, I want to respect the character, but I definitely need to put Gene's stamp on it? Like what made you decide to do that route?
I just think it happens automatically. there's definitely a lot with the characters that's there to respect. But I just think there's you just bring your own sensibility to it. You try to put it through. I just try to put it through my lens, so to speak. And that's just me being a fan. When I read comics, the comics I enjoy the most, I know people say stay true to the character and stay true to this and that, but the comics I love the most are when you can hear that writer's voice in the book, and it's like filtering it through who they are. And that's what I love about comics, is seeing a Batman story told by, for example, when Grant Morrison was doing Batman, it was the weirdest Batman story ever because of who he is, and it was totally different from what anybody else had done. And then the next writer that came on, they put Batman through his lens. And so that's just, I'm a fan of that. I don't feel like there should be 5 creators on a book and they're all the same when you read them. Like,
yeah, no, I get that a lot too, because I understand that you want your own flair on it, you want your own spin on it, you want to see you in what you create, whether it's an established character or your own character.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever asked you, and forgive me if I have, but are any of the Sunstroms like specifically you, or do they each have like a little element of you?
See, now you're getting personal. I think they probably all have some element of me in there. Being a teacher though, and just knowing, just having some of the life experiences I've had, I've met a whole lot of people, and so there's some pieces of a lot of people in these characters. And then there is some of me in all the characters as well. Some of my thoughts about what's good and what's evil are in there. Some of my thoughts about family relationships are in there. So it's just kind of all thrown together. I just kind of put it all in there.
Nice little gene blender.
Yeah.
Just disperse it all evenly. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Like I said, forgive me if I've asked before. I just couldn't remember at the moment. Because the characters are siblings, but they're also different. They all have their unique abilities, their own unique style, their own flair, if you will. So I didn't know how much of you is in any, if any of them, just because there was, they're their own individual person.
Yeah.
And then the age ranges, because they're remind us of how big of a gap is from the oldest to the youngest.
The youngest, when the comic starts, I've taken almost a 2-year gap, and so we're looking at from Sam being about 20 to David being 14 or 15. And so I've tried to let it run a range so that you have a very young character who's going to be learning about his powers, and he just kind of, and you'll see it in issue 3. When he gets to Arc City, which is where the Protectorate live, he's kind of in awe of the whole thing, and so you get to see that. Sam is older, and he's dealing with the responsibility of it, which is why I love him so much, because he gets the weight put on him, and sometimes he can handle it and sometimes he can't, and that's just real life to me, so that's the way I've tried to do it. Torrance is right behind him in age, so it's like he doesn't get all the responsibility because he's not the leader, and so he gets to be older, but he gets to also be irresponsible, and so so that's what he does. So
yeah, okay, yeah. I definitely get the older sibling responsibility thing.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of my crew, and a lot was put on me, just because we're the older ones and we have to help. We're not really given a choice. It's like we have to, and it's kind of what Sam goes through, or excuse me, David goes through. He has all of it. Just Sam. No, it's Sam.
Yeah, Sam. It's Sam. And the thing is, and sometimes we don't have to be the one, but we feel like we got to be the one. And Sam does that a lot too, where he puts a lot of it on himself. It hasn't been put on him. It's just what he put on himself, and that voice kind of just pressures him to no end.
Hmm. Hmm. Now I'm interested in seeing like where that all, leads him within the further storylines of the books. How
You'll,
many issues can you tell us how many issues we can expect of that run?
Initial run will be 5 issues. That was the original project, was to do 5 issues and then collect them into a large volume. So that's still happening. After I get 5 done, I am doing more. I just have more stories, and I'm going to do comics until I can't. So that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like that you're gonna do comics until you can't. And I'm praying and hoping and wishing that it'll be a very, very, very long time, and
Yeah,
you're
you and I
able to
both.
bless all of us with that because and we're friends at this point,
That's
but
right.
I've said it since day one, you're a very talented man. Like
Thank
when
you.
you first when I first received the novel, I was like, I'm gonna be honest, like if it's
Yeah,
not for me, because everybody has different tastes. If it's not for me,
right,
like don't take it personal. But I loved
right,
it immediately. Zach snatched it out of my hands as soon as I was done. He fell in love with it, and we've just been
yeah,
fans. You know, we're fans that we were fortunate enough to turn into friends.
thank you.
And I'm always proud and excited about your next things. I'm always honored when you want to be on my show. And I appreciate that a lot because yes, we were fans first, but we're friends now, and I just hope and pray that continued success and onward and
Thank
upward, as they say, because for those that haven't had a privilege to meet Gene in person, he takes time to actually have conversations with you. You're just not coming to his booth to buy something. You're coming to his booth to meet him and be involved in his world in
you. Yeah,
just a little, you know what I mean? Like it's such a cool thing to have been able to run the con circuit with you as well, because I get to step back and watch you do your thing. And it's awesome because like I said, you're not seeing people as customers, you're seeing people as
right.
people, and you have full blown, you to their limits and your limits because we are at a con, but
Oh
you
yeah,
try to have conversations, you try to get them, to know you, and you get to know them. And I think that's such a cool experience to be able to watch that from my side of the world. Just wanted to let you know that I
well,
think that's
I appreciate that so much. I appreciate that.
yeah. And um so shockingly enough, we've come to the end of the show. All the links are gonna be down in the description. Go do yourself a favor. If you haven't already gotten the Sunstroms, buy all of it. You will not regret it. It's amazing. If you have joined the Kickstarter for issue 3, because I'm gonna be up there. I'm gonna get my issue and my shirt because it's my turn to get a shirt.
Your turn to get a shirt.
And now that there's music involved, like this is gonna open up a whole new avenue for you. And I think that's pretty cool. I say bring a boombox, old school boombox, and have the music blasting like at conventions.
Yep, yep. Will do.
Well, Gene, thank
Will
you
do.
so much for being on the show. I appreciate you so, so much. And that's it. Like,